Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Give Me a Break F1 edition. I'm Munee.
And I'm Rob, and break being BRAK.
That's it. And we are back after the F1 break as well. So let's just get all our break puns in right at the top of the episode.
No break point, but break from the 2 cancelled races in the Middle East, obviously.
Bahrain.
Yeah, Bahrain.
And Saudi Arabia.
Saudi Arabia, they're the ones. So yeah, we've a lot to discuss.
A lot to discuss. We've just had the Miami Grand Prix, so we'll be getting into that. Formula One and tennis are having a huge crossover this year, right?
Yeah.
And our podcast kind of sits in the niche of that because we do cover tennis on a weekly basis and every month have our Formula One episodes. And just by coincidence, this year, Formula One and tennis are in joint headlines a lot, which doesn't always happen.
No.
And why is that, Rob? Can you think of why that is?
I mean, they're very different sports.
Yeah. Why do you think tennis and Formula One are in the headlines together a lot?
Well,
any guesses?
Could it be to do with the Italians that are doing very well in their respective sports? Maybe a Jannik Sinner in tennis and Kimi Antonelli in... Yeah, I didn't want to go into that because he's not my pick, is he? So, yeah.
You know I'm going to call back to your prediction from our very first episode every single time Kimi is on podium. Because what did you say?
I said, from our original video, it would be George Russell dominating the field. And so far,
your precise words were, George Russell is going to run away with it.
Yeah.
I think George Russell is going to run away with it. And so just like I love slating Laurent about Zverev when we're doing our tennis episodes, you know I'm going to find every opportunity to slate you about your prediction about George Russell.
And probably remind me of your prediction, which was?
Kimi Antonelli is going to prove everyone wrong about the inexperience point. He's going to show that he is a contender and the inexperience point will not be reflected. And I think that's one of the most solid predictions I've ever made.
It's working out well for you.
It's working out well. So Kimi is doing me proud and Kimi is doing all of Italy proud. The joint headlines of Kimi Antonelli and Jannik Sinner winning and dominating their respective sports, a lot of the times winning on the same weekends, which is what just happened in Miami as well. So it's a great time to be an Italian sports fan right now.
There is an asterisk with that, and we did touch a bit on it. The asterisk is that football is not a very highly rated sport in Italy right now, considering they failed to make the World Cup.
Yeah.
But I mean, hey, the tennis and the F1, this is a great time for Italians to be, hyped and excited, because they haven't really had much to be hyped and excited about in both sports for a long time.
That's right.
Yeah, I mean, when was the last time Ferrari were dominant? Like pre-2010. It's a long time. So yeah,
that's one of the conversations now, isn't it? It's like, because Ferrari hasn't been performing at the level that fans would want, and they kind of just focus on making sure that a Ferrari driver can get on the podium in Monza. That seems like Ferrari is just happy to achieve that.
That's their season goal.
That's their season goal, as opposed to actually winning the constructors. But now F1 fans have the opportunity to actually pivot their focus on an Italian driver. And Formula One hasn't had an Italian winner since the 1950s. Is that right? It's been a very long time. Yeah. And so Kimi Antonelli is also, he's so easy to root for. He's like this lovable 19-year-old. He's such an easy character to back.
He's got all the innocence, does he?
He is innocence personified.
Yeah. There's no drama in the paddock yet with him.
No.
Like, obviously you've had like the George and the Max stuff from years past, but with Kimi, it's just purely bright-eyed, bushy-tailed. I'm
That's it.
wanting to, I've had my first F1 season last season. I did well. And and now I've got a car and I'm just going to continue to do well. And he's absolutely smashing it, though.
He's
And fair play to
absolutely
him.
smashing it. And I was thinking about this while watching the race, that in F1, we call our new drivers rookies, And so it's that terminology of calling elite athletes rookies, but they've made it through the stages and they're now competing against the best drivers. So they're on the grid, they're driving the same cars. So they're a competitor. And so the association of calling a driver a rookie is also like, or little one, we're not expecting them to achieve anything big yet. They've got their training wheels on, so to say, But really, when we're talking about the best of the best, even if it's your first year, if you're great and you deserve that spot, you can show great results. And Kimi Antonelli did that last year. He used the year to familiarize himself with all of the races and make his mistakes and train up. And now it's year 2 and that's it. He's leading the championship and he's right there as a title contender.
Absolutely. And when you mentioned he made his mistakes last year, he did have a few mistakes beginning to, I would say, middle of the season. And there was some talks, I think it was around when Max was being touted to join Mercedes, that Kimi could actually be taking a backseat in this season. And if they were going to have George and Max as the 2 drivers, obviously it's all speculation at that point, but that was mainly driven because Kimi was not performing as well as Toto probably would have liked him to. However, and this goes back to the whole rookie thing as well, he didn't drive in F2. A lot of the rookie drivers come up from F2, but Kimi didn't even do F2. He's like the literal definition of a rookie. The F2 kind of prepares you for F1 in a sense, but yes, his training wheels were firmly in place last year, and this season they have definitely come off, and he is showing everyone that even though he's young, he's maturing race by race. You can see it. I swear you can see it in his eyes that he knows, like, just I'm going to focus on myself, just do what I need to do, and results will come my way, which they definitely are.
Yeah, and it's not like he's running flawless races just yet. Like, he still has trouble having a clean start. The clutch control isn't great. We'll get into that. But just on the point that you made from speculation from last year, I kind of never doubted that Max isn't going anywhere. Like, Max is interlinked with the Red Bull team very, very tightly. That team is Max Verstappen, right? And so they will do anything to retain him. And he knows that the amount of pull he has in that team, anything that he says goes, and what he wants is what happens. So
he ousted Christian Horner, didn't he? That's how much power Max had in Red Bull.
They say that Jos Verstappen, was
the family
Max's
Verstappen.
dad.
Yeah,
and wasn't the biggest fan of Christian Horner. Yeah, but to know that this entire organization will bend over backwards to make things work for me, you can't take that for granted, and he doesn't. And also, another thing that I didn't doubt at all is that Toto Wolff, he's not letting go of Kimi at all. Like, he found Kimi and he's holding on to Kimi like this now. He wants to be the one who can take the credit for discovering him and for building his career. So Kimi Antonelli's seat, I will say, is probably as safe as Charles Leclerc's seat in Ferrari.
Yeah, at least the next decade.
So if anyone's seat is iffy, it's our pal George Russell.
Yeah. Especially if he's not producing results. So if he doesn't produce results, F1 is brutal. Team principals will not hesitate. I mean, Red Bull are very, very good at that. He needs to be challenging his teammate. And I know he got unlucky in Japan, and Kimi, vice versa, got a bit lucky with how crash unfolded, and then pit stops happened. But yeah, you probably do need to be challenging a bit more, especially because you have the same car. Yeah, the disparity between the two at the moment, it just seems vast, and that's coming from George being a veteran at this point to essentially a rookie driver, a second-year driver.
So I noted down the variance in the race time between George and Kimi over the first 4 races.
Oh.
So George won in Australia and Kimi was second, but he was only 2.9 seconds behind. So he was right there.
It's very close, yeah.
China comes around. Kimi wins that race. George is second, but he's 5.5 seconds behind, right? Then comes Japan. Kimi wins that race. George doesn't make podium. He's 4th. George is 15.2 seconds behind Kimi.
And 2 places.
Then now in Miami, Kimi again wins this race. George again doesn't make podium. He finishes the race 4th, and he finishes the race 43 seconds behind Kimi Antonelli.
I was going to say about 30 odd seconds, but yeah, that 43 is a lot as well. That's
okay. So let's talk about Miami Grand Prix. It's a packed weekend in Miami because they have a sprint race as well. So we've got sprint qualifying, we've got the sprint, then we've got race qualifying, and we've got the race. So heaps going on. So a team that did make the most of the break and has come back really strong, McLaren. McLaren is now a title contender.
Seemingly, after this weekend, it looks like they're on the right track.
Lando Norris won the sprint and was right there neck and neck with Kimi Antonelli on race speed. So he finished the race just behind. I think he's just like 3 seconds or so behind Kimi. So McLaren are right there now.
Absolutely.
Lewis Hamilton, currently in the F1 driver standings, is sandwiched between Lando and Oscar in points. I think that's going to end very soon, and Oscar is going to overtake him in the standings, and all of the positives that we were feeling after China, I'm back to feeling completely disheartened about Hamilton's prospects with Ferrari again.
Yeah, it's great for McLaren because great things can happen when you actually enter a car to start the race, as Oscar's now showing. Positive results starting from Japan. First 2 races, he couldn't even get out of the blocks. Or he was at formation lap in Australia, and yeah, he's well on his way to kickstarting his season. Really nice little podium.
Yeah.
So, what I noticed I think it was practice. So with Aston Martin being terrible, so the quickest Aston Martin time in the practice was still slower than the slowest F2 time in practice on the Friday, which just brings back the meme of Fernando Alonso just shouting down at team radio, GP2 engine, GP2 engine. I don't know if you've seen that, but yeah, it was back when he was with McLaren and had the Honda engine. Still, Aston Martin have a Honda engine as well, so it just made me laugh when I saw that, because the luck that man has, Fernando, it's terrible, and I think the neutral will feel sorry for him.
During the race, I think it was like lap 41, where Alonso is just like chugging along, and then he sees Kimi Antonelli come in behind him and lap him. And I was thinking,
your heart drops
Alonso,
then.
legend of the sport, 2-time world champion. He's just like watching this 19-year-old lap him on the circuit.
He must be thinking that a lifetime ago, that was me going past. And it is literally Kimi Antonelli's lifetime that Alonso has been in, actually longer. So Kimi's what, 19? Alonso's been in the sport 26, 27 maybe years.
Yeah.
That's mind-boggling, actually, when you think about it, that Kimi Antonelli wasn't even born when Alonso was starting out.
Winning championships.
What was it? How old would... Yeah, winning championships. Wow. Wow.
So, speaking about Kimi, and there's really not enough that can be said about what Kimi is achieving right now. It's incredible. So, he's not just breaking records, he's actually making records. He's the first driver ever to have converted his first 3 pole positions into race wins, which is phenomenal.
And he's going to be the youngest and oldest, I
Yeah.
guess. If you're the first person to do that, you get all the accolades.
Yeah. You're the youngest, oldest, and everything in between.
Yeah.
So what's even more incredible is that it's 3 races in a row.
Yep.
Also, the additional factor here that makes it even more brilliant is that his race starts have always been bad. In
Yeah.
Miami in particular, he went completely off track and had to come back in.
He locked up the knee
I
at
was
the first
surprised.
corner.
Yeah, I was surprised he actually only lost 1 spot and then Leclerc managed to get ahead. He was number 2, but I think then by lap 5, he had regained the lead.
The lead did
And
change.
so
Fair.
it changed multiple times throughout the race. And this is what I am loving about the new regulations. The fact that throughout the race, we had multiple drivers like leading the race at times. There were multiple mini battles between our drivers. And we've got multiple teams that are battling for the top positions. So we've got Mercedes, we've got Ferrari, and these two kind of had already identified themselves as contenders for podiums before the break. But now we've got McLaren. McLaren has showed up and they've surpassed Ferrari in terms of like how good their car is performing now. And they're contending directly with Mercedes, which is excellent.
I'd add a fourth team. I'd add a fourth team in that, and that's Team Max Verstappen, because you can't count him out.
Absolutely not. And Max started in the front line of the grid as well. I was like, Max is going to find a way to get the lead, and he's probably going to win the race. And then in the actual race at the start, he did a 360 spin, but managed to compose the car and then carry on.
Also with Max, he tangled everyone, it seemed. Those first few laps was basically just like, who has Max Verstappen tapped or pushed wide or overtaken?
Yeah.
It was, but that from the very start of the race, though, I mean, him and Kimi both locked up at turn 1, which basically allowed Charles Leclerc, and who had an amazing start as well from the second row or third row of the grid. He just came flying up, essentially taking the lead, and then obviously Max had that spin. It looked like he was trying to just get on that Ferrari, and he just maybe pushed it a bit too much.
Yeah,
spun out. But the recovery on that, it does just show you why he is one of the best or arguably the best driver on the grid at the moment.
absolutely.
And there's no doubt in that. So yeah, I mean, he's very, very polarizing figure. But I would say that in majority of F1 fans' minds, they know he is the best driver on the grid.
Yeah. What's funny is that Max has made lots of headlines this year for indicating that he might quit. All of his statements have had an undertone of, I can't be bothered putting up with these cars, with these regulations. There's other things that I could be doing. Life is too short. I'm not going to stick around for this. And then now that we're back after the break and Red Bull has made some upgrades, and the fact that Max did actually start the race at the front of the grid, does that suddenly mean that Max is going to dial back his threats of leaving Formula One? And if the car keeps improving now, then suddenly retiring from F1 is off the table now?
I think that the change in the regulations has obviously appeased a lot of the drivers' concerns, especially around safety. I've not really heard much about them complaining about the regulations after Miami. Obviously, we've got another little break until Montreal. But yeah, the regulations that were changed, they did seem to help ease worries. And actually,
they were tweaked more than changed, weren't they? Nothing really changed. They're slightly tweaked to help improve the closing speed variation issue that was happening.
And I mean, also like there was, if you noticed, I don't know if you noticed from pre-break to Miami, that when you were seeing an overtake on like a straight, for example, you would see it kind of yo-yo between the two drivers. So one overtake and then the next sort of straight, it would be another overtake back. Now, I didn't really see that in Miami where it was on the same lap.
I feel like I noted that Verstappen and Lando Norris were in a bit of a yo-yoing towards, like, I think it was like lap 29, 30. You know, Norris overtook Max overtook Lando Norris. So we still have that back and forth, but I think that's by design. That's the point of the new regulations, that they wanted to enable more race battles, more overtaking, and more kind of strategic use of the battery.
It's the energy recovery system.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's racing. We want to see racing. But also in low, sort of bad weather conditions, in wet weather conditions, they have enabled sort of low power modes as well. And we almost got a taste of some wet weather in Miami, but
Droplets.
yes.
We had more chat about wet weather than we had wet weather.
That's it. And they even moved the race as well on race day for a few hours. I was pleased with Miami compared to previous years. Previous years, it was very boring. I didn't like Miami at all. And I think that's a general sentiment as well across the board for a lot of fans. So yeah, in Miami, race essentially had lap one, lots of action. Fast forward a few laps later, we have Isaac Hadjar clipping a wall and then actually ending up in the wall further down. So
yeah,
that brought out, I would say it brought out the safety car and yellow flags and everything. But it took an age for the safety car to actually get waved, I believe. It was just waved yellows.
Hadjar's spin out and Gasly's, like, he flipped over and crashed. That happened in the same lap, I believe. And then the safety car came out. Yeah, like Hadjar's spin out was just a terrible mistake. He clearly regretted it straight away because he took his time even coming out of his car. And he was
banging the car
upset with himself.
Yeah,
he was banging his helmet, banging his hands. He's very emotive. He does wear his heart on his sleeve. But also, we need that energy to be channeled during the race through concentration. And what I did think when Gasly had that flip and then crash, he was completely upside down when he landed. That angle of seeing the Alpine car like just flip over like that.
Oh, from the actual hood of the Alpine.
Just watching that crash from all angles really made me realize how delicate these cars are. They're so thin and fragile seeming. It basically, you know, the cars that we had growing up, like we would call them dinky cars. Basically, it looked like a zoomed in version of that. Yeah, it gave me an appreciation of what these regulations really are and how it's translated into this version of the car, which is so delicate.
It made me actually appreciate the halo design again. I mean, there's been countless previous examples where the halo design has come in so clutch for safety for the drivers, which is the number one priority.
Yeah.
But again, when he flipped over, you just had that sort of realization that, oh wow, if he did flip and it was upside down, if the halo wasn't there, does it catch on like the fence? It's very, very thankful for the halo design.
Absolutely.
But I mean, it was
safety in Formula One. They've made it so robust, which is excellent considering these crashes. They look so devastating. The cars basically rip apart. You see pieces of the cars flying everywhere. And luckily, our drivers are fine inside, you know? So, yeah.
But yeah, the driver who actually caused that flip was Liam Lawson in the Racing Bulls. Yeah, he's not doing himself any favors, is Liam, with critics saying that he's probably not cut out for F1. But hey, he'll be given opportunity at least for this season. I think Yuki is the reserve driver in Racing Bulls, so they don't seem to like Yuki. That's the feeling I get. Yeah. Liam Lawson will have to really mess up big time in order for Yuki to come in.
Yeah, Yuki obviously demoted from his position in Red Bull as a second seat, which Hadjar has now. But, whenever I think about Liam Lawson and Yuki, I always think about the fact that it's just funny that Lawson and Yuki, because he did finish the season last year, ended up staying in Formula One longer than Christian Horner. And Christian Horner
Gosh.
was the guy who was basically playing their careers, and he had their careers in his hand. He started last year with Liam Lawson in that second seat with Max. After two races, after Australia and China, he took Liam Lawson out, put Yuki in there, and both Yuki and Liam Lawson ended up at least finishing the 2025 Formula One season, and Christian Horner didn't. It's just too funny. It's too funny.
I mean, you can't. There was a whole lot of drama in Red Bull, so.
And yeah, there's some rumors that Christian's trying to make his way back into F1, isn't he?
Oh,
by buying this. I think is he trying to buy a stake in Alpine?
I mean, they've got their own massive troubles with team principals as from last year.
Yeah. I think I read some headlines he's trying to buy a stake in that, and that Toto Wolff is also seems like he might try and put an offer in to block Christian Horner from coming in.
Oh, okay.
I think I read that earlier in the year.
I don't know how that partnership would work in terms of Flavio Briatore and Christian Horner. They just seem like two people that would not work at all. They're two very strong personalities. Yeah, no, I'm not.
And both of them feel like an antagonist of like a B grade movie.
one of the Bond villains that no one remembers.
Yeah, one of those movies that you've never heard of and you only really see at the back catalogue of like Amazon Prime or something. He's like, what is that movie? I was going to give a Blockbusters reference. Did you guys have a movie Blockbusters?
We had Blockbusters. With where you rented the video, the VHS.
Yeah. You would go after school. On a Friday in particular, they would have rent 3 for the price of 2. I remember, so me and my sister would go on a Friday. And you just go, like, spend hours down the aisles and, like, picking out which movie you're going to watch. And you would always just see, like, this random artwork of movies where you're like, what is this? And sometimes the artwork would be way better than the movie itself.
You'd be duped into choosing that movie and then watching it.
Just because the artwork was cool, and then you go home and you're like, nah, this is...
I think I watched I brought the Mighty Ducks back as a kid thinking, I'm going to be watching some sort of cute duck thing. Nah, it was about ice hockey. I was just like, nah, get out. I didn't... As a kid, I did have zero interest in ice hockey, but that's changed now.
But you had interest in ducks, which I love.
Yeah, of course.
How old were you when you were like, I'm going to watch a movie about ducks?
5 or 4 or 5. And yeah, I just saw it was like Mighty Ducks. I was like, I should have probably looked at the back. All I did was look at the front of I still remember it now, yeah, and looked at the front and
at least you
ducks.
could read DUCK duck. And you're like, yeah, that's coming with me. I'm taking that home.
Yes. But yeah.
Okay, coming back to the Miami race.
Absolutely.
There's so much that happened and there's a lot that's worth calling out. But I think one thing we can't avoid before we move on is Charles Leclerc's absolute misery.
He was not happy again with Ferrari. Again, do we want a break from Ferrari? Yeah,
Hey.
that is. He went in for a pit stop, and
yeah, it was lap 22, and it was a slow pit stop, and he then lost position to Russell.
Yeah, so Russell pitted the lap before, and had the undertake because of that slow Ferrari pit stop, and then you just hear Charles on the radio saying basically like, what the hell, what's going on? Like, he was not happy,
and then he was en route to getting on the podium. He could have finished the race 3rd. It's lap 57. It's the final lap. You just have to drive it home. What happens?
Oh, gosh.
He spins. He just spins. And it's like, where did that come from?
He spun into the wall as well, didn't he? Like, like a slight hit into the wall, wasn't it?
He spun, but then he just barely missed the wall. So he managed to carry on and finish the race, but he lost positions. when I was watching it, I was like, how did that even happen? They were showing the replay. And it's kind of like, when you're on a jog or you're just like brisk walking, you're walking along, and then suddenly you just trip. And then you're like, what just happened? So you look back and you're like, did I just trip over like a big rock, or was there like a crater in the middle of the road? Like what happened? And you look back and you're like, there's nothing there. There's not even a pebble in sight. I just tripped over my toe. That's basically what Charles Leclerc's lap was, lap 57. It's like, if anything can go wrong for him, it will.
I mean,
that's where we're at.
Yeah, that spin also, I'm pretty sure it screwed up his steering controls as well, because even though did he finish 6? As in the race. So even though he finished 6, he ended up losing even more time because of track limits, because he couldn't steer the car round these corners, and he's just cutting the corners like...
Yeah. And they gave him a 20-second penalty.
Yeah.
I'm like, that feels very harsh. I'm sure I've seen Max Verstappen do more questionable things over the years.
Yeah.
It feels really harsh.
Do you remember, was it Singapore last year? And Hamilton, it was Hamilton in Singapore when he was struggling with power, I believe, and he kept cutting corners in Singapore, and Alonso was behind him or trying to catch up to him. And he literally Hamilton got I don't know how many seconds it was, but he got the penalty, same sort of penalty, which effectively dropped him a bunch of places. So it's the same thing. You just can't, you got a problem with your car, but you still have to abide by track limits and drive on the track safely.
I find the track limits penalty a little bit confusing as well, because I feel like I see drivers go off the white lines a lot. In Miami, track limits was such a thing. Like Albon got called out. Do you find track limits a bit confusing?
I mean, I feel like it's only if the stewards catch it, which is, again, it's luck of the draw almost, because they will pick up some really fine, just over the line, and that's track limit, and then you'll hear it on the radio, on the team radio, and race engineers warning the drivers, you're on your last warning, essentially, before you're going to get a black and white flag. Yeah. So yeah, the track limits thing, it's just down to the stewards, and
so subjective.
Yeah, very.
Yeah, because sometimes I feel like I see a driver do it, and I'm like, oh, they're quite further out from the lines there, and doesn't really get called out, and then randomly, like a race like this weekend, it gets called out a lot. So you're right. I think it's just which steward are you going to get?
Highlighted more during qualifying because it's easier to spot, essentially. So yeah, obviously not all the cars are out on the track at the same time usually, so it's easier to spot.
Okay, is there anything else from the Miami weekend that we want to call out before we move on?
We had
Colapinto had a really good weekend.
Yeah, he did.
I'm happy to see him.
Got in the points.
He got in the points. When the Ollie Bearman and Colapinto crash happened in Japan, a lot of it ended up feeling like it was pinned on the new regulations. But then during the break, Ollie Bearman did a podcast, and he came on there and he basically just had a go at Colapinto and said that it's really disappointing how Colapinto behaved and that shouldn't happen. And I just felt like I just didn't understand the motivation for that, because if you
drive to survive.
Do you think so?
I mean, it could be. They need something. They've got a lot to talk about, but I don't know. Everything like the little digs at drivers kind of maybe seem. Yeah, is it drive to survive?
That's just kind of a good point. Because if you think about it, I think like calling out Colapinto for having the instinct to defend his position, I actually think that that's a good thing. He's a Formula One driver. He's driving a race and someone's trying to overtake him. His immediate instinct is, I'm going to try and defend. To suggest that the full instinct of wanting to defend should be completely discouraged so that these kind of crashes don't happen. I think, yes, let's explore why the crash happened And if the general consensus was it was the closing speed issue, but wanting to defend your position when you're being overtaken and getting called out for wanting to do that, I felt that that was a little bit unfair to Colapinto. What do you think?
Do you think that Bearman has maybe seen the other incident at the same part of the track in Suzuka where I can't remember the driver, but I think it was like one of the Cadillacs. They gave
Was it Hulkenberg? I think it was Hulk.
maybe, and they gave that the Cadillacs gave him more room. Do you reckon he's maybe seen that and thought, well, why isn't Colapinto done the same? And maybe that's where that stemmed from.
Yeah, but I just feel like the right to defend and to prevent somebody coming in from behind you from overtaking should remain in the sport. And do you remember that clip of Ollie Bearman being interviewed and he gets asked a question? I don't even remember what the question was, but he doesn't know how to respond straight away. And his PR person is standing right there. So he's like, always, 1 second. He goes over to his PR person. She whispers the answer to him in his ear. He comes back and verbatim, we would assume, has just said what he's been told. So we know these rookies, or specifically Ollie Bearman, he's not thinking up the idea of, let me just go on this podcast and have a sit-down interview about Colapinto doing me wrong. It feels like more, probably has been cleared by his PR team, probably more of a strategic thing by Haas. Yeah, it just made me think, where is this coming from and what's the motivation for this and what's the point of this? Like we're meant to, now everybody should think, yeah, Colapinto is a bad driver and he did something bad. Shouldn't the main takeaway be that the regulations in particular, this is a really good evidence of how it's not safe or they can enable an unsafe situation?
We'll find out next year when it's on Drive to Survive. That's my...
You think it's a Drive to Survive storyline?
Yeah, absolutely.
You think episode 2 of Drive to Survive season 9 is going to be...
Is it 9 seasons?
That time when, yeah.
Yeah, so
you have a good point.
Yeah, I think that's what I think. But well, we'll see. I'm really happy with how Williams have turned a corner in the midfield battle as well. Both drivers on getting points. So yeah, I mean, I think everyone has a soft spot for Carlos Sainz. So yeah, I think we all want him to do well, especially after the Ferrari fiasco. So yeah, let's hope Williams continue to deliver points.
We talked about this a bit in our last episode, and I'll keep saying it, but it's just another example of brilliance getting wasted. We're watching it happen with Leclerc in Ferrari, but at least he's still getting podiums. Carlos Sainz, that's the situation of brilliance getting wasted. We talked about potentially the second Mercedes seat going to Max and how I think that Max is not leaving Red Bull, so he's staying where he is. If the second Mercedes seat does become available, and I'm now calling George Russell the second Mercedes seat because Kimi, we know, is like firmly in that seat. Give it to Carlos Sainz. I'm starting this petition now. Carlos Sainz to Mercedes. Give him that seat. Can you imagine if Carlos Sainz was in that Mercedes seat this season?
Yeah.
He would be the championship leader right now. We would be watching just beautiful races by Carlos Sainz in that car. He's stuck with Williams.
The problem was that they couldn't do a swap essentially because Ferrari acquired Hamilton services and Mercedes then taking Carlos would seem like the quote unquote worst end of the deal from a PR point.
That second seat was always Kimi's. Toto Wolff could have done more to kind of secure Hamilton for longer. But I think in the back of his mind, he already knew I can bring Kimi in. Yeah. Save Carlos Sainz's career. Somebody please. Like the fact that he doesn't make it in conversation when we're talking about race leaders and we're talking about podiums. Like Carlos Sainz is not in the conversation. That's not what we want. That's not what we want in Formula One. I can't wait for Williams to kind of make their way up and in a couple of seasons as they start competing. No. Carlos, they can do that with Albon, who basically is the most mid driver that they could ever beat.
He's a very steady hand for the most part, apart from that season that, he did crash the Williams into anything and everything. But it's quite, at the moment, there isn't really, I wouldn't even put Carlos Sainz as the Williams number one driver at the moment. I think it's very much a split.
He is. Alex Albon has been with Williams 5 seasons now, isn't it? He doesn't have a single podium. Williams didn't
have a good car, But saying that, last season, obviously, Carlos did get a couple podiums, didn't he? So, yeah.
When you bring in a great driver, it actually tells you what you can achieve with the equipment. Alex Albon is a mid driver. Yes, he's now a pair of safe hands, so he's not crashing your car anymore as much as he did in that season. There's no big car repair charges, and he'll drive your car, he'll get it to the finish line more often than not. That's all you can expect of him.
If they had a title challenging car, yes, he would be the number 2 driver. Like, I would be able to see clearly Carlos Sainz would be number 1 driver, be challenging, and Alex Albon would be that's, let's place my car in between Carlos and the next challenger, essentially. But obviously Williams don't have that sort of car.
Well, while we're talking about Alex Albon for me is like a Hulkenberg, right?
Yeah.
Hulkenberg, as we know, like last year was his first time on a podium. He's been in Formula One for years and years and years. He was brought back by Gunther Steiner for Haas when he lost his seat in the middle for a few years there. But Hulkenberg, again, is just a safe pair of hands. He'll drive your car. He'll get it to the finish line. He's not achieving great things, and nobody expects that from him. He's in that Audi seat now. He's driving the car. He's providing data. That's what Alex Albon is for me now. Alex Albon's level is actually Hulkenberg level. It's not with the Carlos Sainz tier.
He had his chance, back when he was that Red Bull junior driver, couldn't really handle the Red Bull car. Now, is his ceiling, being that serviceable driver that helps teams nurture a new talent, new rookies? That could be his ceiling now. And to be honest, if I was him, I'd probably be happy with that.
And he is. Just look at him. He's the most content, like middle of the road dude. He's not ambitious for anything bigger. I don't know if you remember this, like last year in Australia, he actually managed to get in the points. And I remember every time he would be asked by Martin Brundle or like anybody in the press was like, this is great. What a great start to the season. And he more than once, he said, oh, I wish this happened like later in the season. It's happened too soon. I wish it happened later in the season when we're like trying to like catch points or whatever. And I'm like, what a weird thing to say. You've started the season really well. You've landed in the points. He's still found a way to I don't know if that's just a British sensibility in him where he's just like downplaying his achievement. Like when Carlos Sainz got his first podium with Williams last season, he's like, this is the first of many. There's more to come, right? Because he's got a champion mentality. Alex Albon he's not a champion. He doesn't have a champion mentality.
We've probably been beaten out of him, like not in the physical sense, obviously, but as in like those Red Bull years and the sort of the dark Williams years, all the hope would have been sucked out of you, really. Going from really highs of, you're in a Red Bull seat, but you don't have the maturity yet to handle that car. And then getting sort of demoted down to Williams and having to take a seat at Williams where they were just complete utter shambles before James Vowles came in from Mercedes and just kind of rebuilt that sort of team structure, team dynamic, culture within Williams. And he's obviously matured throughout this entire process, but I guess it's now Williams are still not challenging. And does he just see himself, well, this is my ceiling now?
I see a lot of parallels between Alex Albon and Hulkenberg because I also looked up Hulkenberg's junior career and apparently he was the guy to beat, just like Alex Albon. Famously, Lando Norris used to have a poster of Alex Albon in his room as a junior because Albon was the guy.
Yeah.
So similarly, Hulkenberg it's like they peaked in high school kind of thing. Okay, what else did we have to talk about?
So I guess after all this Miami talk, well, what happened before Miami? A lot happened before Miami. We had a whole host of things, but let's keep on Italy.
Okay.
The Italian authorities, okay, so they were pretty big during the month of April during this break. There was a big tax scandal. So in Italy, you have to declare winnings or wages, essentially, that have been earned on Italian soil, and you have to declare them to the Italian tax authorities. Now, seemingly, there's been teams that haven't been doing this, not the Italian teams. So you Racing Bulls, who, formerly Toro Rosso's, they are based in Italy, and Ferrari, naturally. They are seemingly compliant, but yeah, it's the non-Italian teams that the Italian tax authorities seem to have an issue with. So yeah, we could. I mean, there's big fines, and there was talks of jail time, but I don't think that's going to come to fruition.
So it's the teams and the players that potentially haven't paid tax on past earnings?
Yeah, essentially. So it's going back quite a long way. Early doors, yeah, and there's no concrete outcome. I'm sure it's going to be lawyered, solicited up to the nine. So, but yeah, that story broke during the break.
Yeah. I always find it a bit funny that so many of our elite athletes across Formula One, across tennis, across all sports, when they start making it big, they move to Monaco.
Yes.
Obviously for tax purposes, because it's a tax haven. And it's kind of like the most well-known, culturally accepted form of tax evasion. It's like, especially if you're European, and so it's easy to move to Monaco with a European passport. You start making loads of money, just move out of your home country, go live in Monaco so that you don't have to pay tax. It's just regular people. We obviously don't have the option of, I got a bonus this year. Maybe I'll put my bonus somewhere where I won't get taxed. That doesn't happen.
Not quite.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see who the Italian tax office manages to buckle down on.
Yeah. You mentioned Monaco. Fernando Alonso, during the break, he's in Monaco, place of residence, and yeah, he's driving his Ferrari F40, and that breaks down on him. And there's a video that was circulating, and Alonso's just stood on the corner while his car's getting tended to, and some bloke is just filming him. He looks very dejected. It's like he was thinking back to 2010, 2011, 2012, when he was with Ferrari, and it's like all these years later, Ferrari are still letting me down. It's, yeah, the Ferrari engine is just a curse for that man.
Okay. All right. Well, it was great to chat to you about Formula One, as always, Rob.
Of course. I very much enjoy these chats, and we'll have another one in a month's time. We've got Montreal, and then it's the European season. So the start of the European season. Well,
before we wrap up, I wanted to ask you, how are you feeling about the 2026 season now? You mentioned in our last episode that the driver who wins this year, there may as well be an asterisk next to their name. How do you feel about the season now, and the rest of the year looking ahead?
I'm still on the fence. I need to see this race weekend happen in Montreal, in the European seasons. It's a one race weekend where it seemingly is better. It could just be an anomaly. So if we see consistency of it, then sure, I will happily be on board and sort of change my tune. But at the moment, I'm not as hyped. Yeah.
Well, I have to say I am officially excited. I think that seeing now just more than one team being a potential title contender. Like last year, everyone knew that McLaren is going to win the constructors, and so the whole season was between Oscar and Lando, and then Max just gave us an exciting scenario B that we kind of caught on to mainly in the final few races of the season to be like, maybe Max will take it. So last year was a little bit of this is good, but is it exciting kind of year for me. This year, I'm like, actually now that the regulations have been tweaked and we've had a really good race weekend in Miami, I'm officially excited. We've got Mercedes, we've got McLaren, and we've got Ferrari that potentially really can go for the constructors. And it would actually be such an interesting turn of events if McLaren start leading the championship at some point, and then we see that the assumption that Mercedes are going to take it this year, we've got McLaren that are like right there. So yeah, there's a lot actually that is exciting about this season, and I'm officially on board.
I like to hear that at least one of us can be fully excited. I think maybe as well is the fact that my prediction of George Russell running away with it is maybe playing into my downtroddenness of the season. Yeah.
Or it could be the fact that you've got hay fever right now and you've done really well to stick it out for this episode.
Maybe, yes. Yeah, hay fever is kicking.
I know.
My-
Hay fever is terrible.
Yeah,
Yeah. I feel quite bad for you, but well done.
thank you.
All right. Well,
Thanks
we'll
all.
catch you next time.
And thank you for listening
Bye.
and take it easy.